Welcome everyone to this week's episode of Unrooted, Track and Field Edition. And my guest for this week's show is none other than Richard Runkle-Edens of the Track and Field roster. Thanks so much for joining me, Richard.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, let's start by getting to know you a little bit better. You were not just a runner back in high school. You actually lettered all 4 years at Marshall Fundamental Secondary School in golf. Where did your passion for golf develop?
My grandfather was he was a pro golfer he was an amateur pro golfer in LA, and he kind of gone to the Masters.
Really?
Yes, he won an amateur title at the LA Country Club several years in a row in the 1970s and 80s, but because he was over the age of 50, he never got to go to the Masters, because they always take the top amateurs that win that tournament. Sadly, he was over the age limit, so they didn't take him. So that kind of sparked a passion in me to get into golf, and so I did cross country because my father pushed me into it. But during the during the spring, my dad was like, "You should do track field." I'm like, "I want to try something else," and I got into golf, and it was kind of cool. It was really fun, and yeah, half the year I was running, half the year I was walking. I liked it from then on.
Do you still keep up with it now?
I don't at all. I just simply don't.
So then I probably shouldn't ask what scores you'd be shooting, right?
Yeah, you shouldn't, because you should not.
We'll save that for another day.
Yeah.
Coach Dan Noel is infamous for being a persistent recruiter. Did it take much to get you hooked on Menlo College?
Actually, I'm here on academic. So I heard about the team from the tour. They were saying we're starting a new cross-country program, and I thought to myself, that'd be cool to join. And I basically said, I gave him a call. I called him, and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna be coming to Menlo. I'm curious about the program, and he just said, well, yes, please come. And I was the first cross-country guy to come onto the team.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, you can't say Richard Runkle-Edens in a sentence without saying high energy. What's the secret to bouncing off walls?
Okay, so yes, you gave me this question. I don't know. I thought about this. For the longest time, I have not drink coffee. I don't drink coffee at all. Yeah. I had my first cup of coffee 2 weeks ago at Phil's Coffee, and it was... Do you know have you ever seen the movie Over the Hedge?
I have, yes.
So you know the squirrel?
Yes.
You know the squirrel in that?
Yes.
So one of my friends one time, he's like, you know that squirrel from Over the Hedge? And I was like, the really hyper one? And he's like, the one's kind of annoying? He's like, yeah, that's you, Richard. I'm like, ouch. And he's like, but you know when he drinks the coffee and the world just goes...
Yep.
That was how it felt when I drank the coffee for the first time. I was like, oh.
So it has the opposite effect.
Oh, the world just stopped in time. I just picked things out of the air. I was like, yeah, it was kind of cool.
So have you had coffee since?
I have not. I'm kind of staying away from that stuff.
You don't like that, do you?
Oh, I liked it. I liked it.
Experience, but not something you want all the time.
Yes, it's something to have once every now and then on a blue moon.
There we go.
There we go.
In addition to golf and running, you were also a decent ultimate frisbee player.
Yeah.
If running, track, and cross country doesn't work out somehow, is there ever a transition for you?
Oh yeah, that was the first sport I learned. Excuse me.
Really?
Yeah. I remember I never threw a baseball, never threw a football. My dad threw me a frisbee, and I remember it hitting my head one time, just yeah. So it was probably that was my first thing I learned.
Well, your father's a good man for teaching that to you. And
yeah,
hey,
definitely.
You always got a spot on the roster.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Coach Dan, but I'd love to get him on the team.
Are you recruiting me right now?
I'm not quite the Dan Noel when it comes to recruiting.
I don't think anyone's the Dan Noel.
But I could maybe put together a decent compensation package for you. We'll see.
Definitely.
Let's talk a little bit about the team specifically. Not many Oaks competed in the Warrior Invitational last weekend, but that didn't stop Menlo College from impressing. Nearly everyone hit a personal record in the tournament. What's been the key to success so far this season?
For me, it's just been a daily grind, and for the team, it's always just been just knowing that this is track and field. And compared to other sports, track and field is a sport where you are not just working during the time, but you're working on the off time just as hard amount. You're constantly tired, you're constantly trying to focus, you're trying to sleep too, because your body's so tired sometimes, you can't even sleep, or at least I can't. But it's a sport that just, I see in the teammates, they definitely what they get from the program is they think, all right, I'm doing track and field. That means I'm not just doing it during 1 to 3:30. I'm doing it 24/7, and that's what our coach definitely emphasizes in the program.
Now, you guys went from competing against a field of over 1,000 competitors at the Hornet Invitational to a very small competition at the Warrior Invite. What's that difference like?
Oh, man. I definitely would say that the bigger invitationals have more of a grand feeling, like definitely of like a tradition going back, like this is track and field, like going back to the Greeks, so like, you know, the first Olympics. That's kind of the feeling it has, and so it's more like a bumper. But in the sense, smaller things feel a little more personal, like this is me, this is like my part, this is me pushing myself. So I think that's the biggest difference, at least that I see.
I find it really interesting that some of the strongest competitors on the team weren't track athletes when they came to Menlo College. What can you say about the way that everyone continues to develop?
Well, one thing about track and field, and this is from Dan Noel, he one time said, it's a very pure sport. I did an interview with him for MCM, what class it was? For DeJosia. Do you know who DeJosia is? Media and Society.
Media and Society.
Yes. Yeah. And I got to interview Dan Noel, and the way he said it was, track and field is a very pure sport. And that emphasis, that word pure, is, I think it can ties into almost any other sport. It's something you are competing just with yourself. Yes, there are other people in like the lanes next to you, and yes, you might get spiked, or you might be throwing a little less or farther than someone else. But the thing about it is, it's got that essence that's kind of part of every other sport of competitiveness and just going after the goal.
Now, how important was it for most athletes to get the week off before a very hectic week coming up this weekend?
I really enjoyed getting the week off. It was the moment of just taking a moment to like really calibrate what's going on and really step back from the track and field atmosphere. And that's something I think as a track athlete that is necessary. Not every sport, every sport has like a break every now and then, but for track and field, our season is 8 weeks of back to back to back to back. And when you don't have a break every now and then, I think you start to go a little mad. At least I do. I'm like, no, twitching.
It might not take much for you to twitch anyways.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that.
But I get what you're saying with that.
Yeah.
Sure. Menlo will be participating in 3 different invitationals this weekend, kind of going right on par with the whole madman look. Which ones will you be competing in, and what challenges will that present for your teammates?
So, I'm going to be competing in San Francisco State University's invitational. Okay. It's the distance carnival, and this is the distance event that last year I felt my strongest point in the whole season. I became injured after this event, basically, but it was the mile. I'm competing in the mile, and some of us are going to Stanford, some of us are going elsewhere. But right now, for me, this was like the moment of of me peaking last year, and so now it's for me to show off. Not just show off, but also show myself that I can see where I'm at in my track and field career right now. And I'm really excited. I'm super excited about it. I mean, the mile is something I've dreamed about getting under 5 minutes last year. I got 4:56, which was awesome. Barely cut it, but now I can maybe get 4:30 or something like that, or I don't know. I'm just excited to be competing in an event that I can brag a little bit about, but at the same time know that I'm proud to say I've done that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, let's transition to the final segment of the show. It's called Brownie Bites. I'm going to ask you 3 off-the-wall questions. Give me your best answer.
Okay.
Question number 1. You kind of already alluded to this one, but I want to see your answer for it. Do caffeinated beverages have any effect on you?
Yes and no. Okay, I don't drink Red Bull. I think it is the worst thing. I had the gel Red Bull at Halloween Horror Nights in LA. I went nuts. It was crazy. I was 16. I'm like, yeah, let me get some of that. And I was like, I take this thing. I felt my heart go. And I was like, what the hell? I crashed after 30 minutes. And it was 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, I'm never doing that again. So I have never touched a Red Bull drink. Now, I do drink tea, but sometimes the tea will hit me just like that. Or sometimes it'll bring me to like a
relaxed state.
More of like a nirvana state.
Yeah.
Yeah, so caffeine drinks are pretty interesting on this body. It's
hit or miss.
I'm very wary of that drug. I'm very wary about it.
Question number 2. Which teammate has the least amount of energy?
Joe for sure. Joe Alvarez. Yeah. He's a freshman. He's just, I think you can't have the sentence, you can't have Joe Alvarez without the word chill. Because I've never seen him like move super fast. Like even his fastest motions are still like, you could track them. Yeah, he's the chillest person. Like some of the throwers have energy, some of them are like, yeah. But Joe's just like, yeah, what's up, dude? Yeah, see what I mean? Yeah.
Hey, I roomed with him, so I know exactly what it is we're talking about.
Yeah, Joe's, he's pretty chill dude.
Yeah.
But also Little Joe too. Do you know Little Joe?
I don't think so.
He is pretty chill. Actually, I would say Little Joe's even more chill than Joe Alvarez.
Okay, explain.
He's got a beard. He came to school. He's roommates with Elijah Redding, and he's way more chill than the Joes. Like both of them, Cup of Joe. I don't know. There's no Cup of Joe involved. They are both relaxed. But Joe Alvarez does, like when he's pumping the team, he's like hard work. Little Joe, he's just yeah. So I would take that back. Little Joe, definitely.
So it must just be a Joe thing.
It's a Joe thing.
Yeah. Question number 3. If you were golfing with a teammate, who would be most likely to hit the ball in the water?
Deliberately or
no? Unintentionally. That's the best part.
I'm going to say Porter Hanson.
Why?
Have you ever talked to Porter Hanson?
Not recently.
Okay, well, the guy is clumsy. So clumsy. More clumsy than me. And he doesn't admit to it. He won't. Like, he would just be like, ah! And I was just like, bro, you just hit into the water. You'd be like, well, does that mean I get to go again? I'm like, well, you get penalized. Okay. That's his attitude. Okay. Yeah, Porter Hanson for sure.
We might have to set up this golf match between you two. I want to see what happens.
I don't think he's even played golf before.
Well, that'd be perfect. You're rusty and he hasn't played, so hey, let's get it on.
Yeah, you can join us.
No, I'll call the 18 holes.
Oh, okay.
Instead.
Wow. Okay,
yeah,
fine, fair enough.
Instead. Richard, thanks so much for joining me on the show. I appreciate it. And fans, don't forget, Menlo College Track and Field, 3 invites this weekend. The Stanford invite, the San Francisco Distance Carnival, Richard will be on that one, and the Chabot invite, all going on this weekend. They start on Friday, and they'll be running all the way throughout the weekend. Stay tuned to MenloAthletics.com to check out the results and recaps from all the action over the weekend. Next week, Richard Runkle-Edens will select the interviewee on Menlo College Unrooted Track and Field, so you might want to tune in for that one. I'm Brian Brownfield. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.